Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Orson Welles and Margot Stevenson starring in the summer series run of The Shadow, going back to August 28th, 1938. This episode, sponsored, by the way, by Goodrich Tire, not by Blue Coal, because who needed coal in the summertime? This episode is entitled The Tomb of Terror.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, The Shadow will be on the air with a thrilling new adventure. The Shadow, Lamont Cranston, a man of wealth, a student of science, and a master of other people's minds, devotes his life to righting wrongs, protecting the innocent, and punishing the guilty. Cranston is known to the underworld as The Shadow. Never seen, only heard. The Shadow's true identity is known only to his constant friend and aide, Margot Lane. Today's story, The Tomb of Terror.
And so, gentlemen, we are gathered here on the grounds of the City Museum to pay tribute to those who have successfully brought to this country the building that stands before you. The authentic tomb of the Egyptian pharaoh, King Khupratep. It is my pleasure to present to you now the man who is largely responsible for its discovery, transportation, and reassembly. The director of the expedition, Dr. Romney Hale.
Thank you. Thank you. Directors of the museum and fellow workers, I am very grateful. It has been through your cooperation that this work has been made possible. Although perhaps we owe a vote of thanks to good King Khupratep himself. In spite of the legendary curse that all who gaze upon King Khupratep's mummy shall die, the bulk of our job is finished. Now, before you are admitted for the inspection, will you excuse Mr. Avery, Mr. Johnson, and myself while we make a brief check of the interior of the tomb? Harry, Jack, will you come with me?
Surely, Doctor.
Oh, certainly, Doctor. Well, gentlemen, how does the place look to you?
Why, Doctor, you've done an amazing job.
It looks exactly as it did when we first unearthed it in Egypt.
Thank you. Would you like to pay your respects to His Majesty?
Oh, indeed I would, Doctor.
Very well. Will you help me with the lid of the mummy case?
Oh, sure.
There you are. Khupratep the King, Lord of Egypt.
My, magnificent face.
Yes, wonderfully preserved.
We are defying the ancient curse by looking upon that face.
Oh, come, Dr. Hale. Surely you don't believe
Look. Look at the mummy's eyes.
Why, that's strange. They seem to glow.
Yes, I see it, too. A sort of unearthly light.
What is this, Doctor, a trick?
No, gentlemen, I give you my word. I don't know what it could be.
The light's growing brighter.
I don't like this. It's uncanny.
Close that case.
Let's get out of here, Doctor.
I can't understand it. If we hadn't all seen it, I would... Oh!
Dr. Hale, what's the matter?
Take his arm, Jack. Let's get him outside.
Where did you...
What's wrong? What's the matter with Dr. Hale?
I don't know. He suddenly collapsed. He was...
Jack, what's the matter with you? Someone get a doctor, quick. These two men are very ill. Harry, what happened in there?
Well, Mr. Rafferty, I was...
Harry!
Catch him, he's falling.
Harry.
Look.
Here, man, tell me what happened.
Mr. Rafferty, it was... The eyes. The eyes.
Yes.
It's King Kufretep's curse.
Doctor, tell me, how are they?
All three of these men are dead. Hold those pressures.
What do you got, Chief?
A terrific yarn. Dr. Romilly Hale, the archaeologist, and two of his assistants died mysteriously an hour ago in King Kufretep's tomb. Play up the curse angle and spread it for all it's worth.
Dry soup, cream on the side.
Some of those donuts, too, please.
Oh, donuts? Lamont, do you suppose we can dunk?
Certainly, Margot. Lunch wagon etiquette not only allows dunking, it encourages it.
Here's your donut, Chief. That'll be 26.
Here you are. Just keep the change.
Thanks. Say, bud, is there anything new on them guys that kicked off over at that coffee, the kipper, that Egyptian king?
No, nothing new.
Hey, how about my ham on rye?
Right with you.
What do you make of that tomb affair, Lamont?
Just amazing. The newspapers are playing up the superstition fallacy.
You don't think that all three deaths were due to coincidence?
Hardly that, but I certainly don't hold to the Kufretep curse theory.
But something strange must have happened in that tomb.
Unquestionably.
According to the newspaper reports, one of the three men before he died was heard to mutter something about eyes, terrible eyes. And his last words were King Kufretep's curse.
They were undoubtedly terrified by something they saw in there. Did not die of fear.
Oh, I know. According to the doctors, they all died natural death.
Yes, that's quite true.
One of pneumonia, one of typhoid, and one of heart disease.
That's the way the doctors had to write their death certificates. Perhaps when the truth is known, they'll have to be changed.
Changed? What do you mean, Lamont?
You finished eating?
Oh, yes.
Shall we take a walk?
Oh, all right, let's go.
Good night, boss.
Good night.
Night. Lamont, what did you mean the death certificates will have to be changed?
Three men do not die within seconds of one another of different diseases without a single underlying cause.
Oh, that's true.
Margot, the mysterious deaths of those three men must challenge the imagination of the shadow. I must find out the medical details of the deaths of those men.
Then you think there's more in it than the papers have printed?
I know there is.
I can get those details for you.
Good. As soon as you have the necessary information, communicate with me. The shadow will await your call. Hello.
Lamont, this is Margot.
Oh, yes, Margot. What did you find out?
I just talked to Dr. Burley, he's in charge of the case.
Yes?
He said that the three men actually died, as the paper said, but there was one detail that was not printed.
What is that?
Well, the doctors themselves don't seem to understand it, but an examination of the victim's blood has shown in each case a complete absence of leukocytes.
Leukocytes?
Yeah.
Those are white corpuscles.
Yes.
Do you realize what that means? Without white corpuscles in the blood, the human system would have nothing with which to combat disease. No wonder they died. Margot, this is the first key to the mystery. Perhaps the shadow can find the answer to the next question within the museum walls.
I tell you, we must go through with the public opening of the tomb, as originally planned.
But will the public be there?
We'll have to take that chance. Gentlemen, I wish we had never started this project.
Now, see here, Kent. You've been acting like an old woman about this whole thing.
But, Mr. Rafferty,
We've poured thousands of dollars of the museum's money into the tomb. And it's up to us to dispel this nonsense about the Kufretep curse.
I am not so sure that it is nonsense.
Rubbish.
Oh, you can't dismiss the fact that three men died.
They all died natural death.
I wouldn't be too sure about that, Mr. Rafferty.
Who's speaking?
Who is that?
I am called the Shadow.
The Shadow?
I've heard of you. What do you want of us?
I've been investigating the deaths of your three colleagues. I've come to warn you that no one must be permitted within the walls of the tomb.
Why do you say that?
Because anyone who enters may not come out alive.
Are you implying that there is truth in the Kufretep curse?
I am telling you, Mr. Rafferty, I have reason to believe that the name of the curse of Kufretep is cold, premeditated murder.
Nonsense.
Not nonsense, Mr. Stevenson.
With all respect to your unsolicited information, we are not going to be intimidated by an unknown voice. Speak for yourself, Mr. Stevenson. I am inclined to respect the Shadow's warning.
Quiet, Kent. On what grounds, Shadow, do you base your statement?
You'll have to accept what I've said on faith.
I've had enough of this.
Wait, Mr. Stevenson. We may learn more.
No, I'm going to rid us of this hocus-pocus once and for all.
Yes, what do you propose to do, Stevenson?
I'm going into that tomb tonight, right now.
Don't do that, Mr. Stevenson.
I know what I'm doing, Shadow. Well, who'll accompany me? Don't tell me that you're all afraid.
Why, no, not at all. But perhaps none of us should be too hasty.
Very wisely spoken, Mr. Rafferty.
Very well. Then I shall go alone.
You are very foolhardy, Stevenson.
We shall see. Who has the key to the tomb?
I have, Mr. Stevenson, but...
Now, give it to me.
Mr. Rafferty, can't you persuade him to change his mind?
Don't you think, Stevenson,
Can't
we might...
give me the key.
Very well. Here you are.
Thank you.
Now, wait. We'll accompany you to the door of the tomb.
All right.
You may be going to your death, Stevenson.
I'll chance that. Come along, men. Well, here we are. Have any of you changed your mind? Mr. Rafferty?
No, thank you.
Hawkins?
I prefer to wait outside.
I know there's no use asking you, Kent.
Don't go in there, Mr. Stevenson. Something horrible waiting for you in there.
Give me that flashlight. I'll find that out for myself.
He's in the tomb.
Nothing horrible has happened in here yet.
Don't touch the mummy case.
Why not? Might as well make the investigation complete.
Don't, Stevenson. You mustn't. Can't any of you stop him?
What can we do?
I'm opening the mummy case.
We've got to get him out of there. I'll go myself.
Here, come back here, Ken.
Stevenson! I'm looking at the mummy's face. Hey, that's strange. There's something peculiar here.
Come away from that mummy, Stevenson.
Ken! Stevenson! I insist that you both come out of there at once.
But there's something here that I don't understand. There seems to be...
It's happened. He's choking.
Kent, bring him out here.
I'm trying to. Here. All right, Stevenson. Here, now just lean on me.
Stevenson. Man, what happened?
I looked at Gufraw. He's dead. He's dead.
It's not possible.
The shadow was right.
Yes, gentlemen. Stevenson ignored my warning. This perished. This should convince all of you that there is a ruthless killer masked behind the Kufratep curse.
August 28th, 1938, The Shadow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You ever make a change and then think, why didn't I do this years ago? Well, that's how people feel about switching to Medishare for their health care, especially now with inflation the way it is. People are very happy with the savings. Most families save about $500 a month when they switch. It's a huge help when prices are going up so fast in so many other areas. And Medishare's customer satisfaction rate is double that of health insurance. It's just a different experience, and people really like that. Medishare is an alternative to health insurance. It's a community of Christians who share each other's healthcare bills, and it's been going strong for over 25 years. It really is the gold standard, the most trusted name in healthcare sharing. Find out why people love it. Find out why they rave about the customer service, and find out how good it feels to save some money right now. They're super easy to talk to. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE, 833-34-BIBLE.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now we continue with The Shadow, starring Orson Welles, August 28th, 1938.
Margot, what did you learn about Stevenson's death?
Well, Lamont, the doctors officially called it influenza.
What about the blood test?
It was the same as the others. The white corpuscles had been destroyed.
Just as I thought. That proves that Stevenson was murdered, too, and by the same instrument.
But, Lamont, what can that instrument be?
It may be a serum, poison gas. I don't know. More important than the killing device is to find the killer's motive.
You found out something, Lamont?
Not exactly, but I saw a man at the museum about whom I should like to know more.
Who is he?
Aldous Kent, an assistant curator. I'm sure that he has more knowledge of this affair than he allows himself to show.
Why do you suspect him?
For several reasons. His apparent concern for Stevenson's safety was a bit overdone. For a scientist, he was surprisingly naive about the Kufratep curse, and, most important, in spite of his outward fear, he followed Stevenson into the tomb. I'd like to know more about that man, Margot. And that's where you can help me.
Yes, Lamont, but how?
By visiting Kent as a newspaper woman. Interview him about his career. Find out whether he's interested in any branch of science other than archaeology. Margot?
I saw Aldous Kent.
Yes?
He hasn't always been an archaeologist. He worked at many things.
For instance?
Well, before he went to work for the museum, he was employed as an assistant by Dr. Faber. You know, the well-known biologist.
Very interesting, Margot. I see that's all I'll have to know.
Lamont, does that have any bearing on the murders?
May have everything to do with them. I'll be able to answer that question after the Shadow pays a call on Dr. Faber.
Dr. Faber.
Eh? What? Who's that?
Don't be startled, Dr. Faber.
Who are you?
I am the Shadow.
Are you in this room? I can't see you.
I regret that I must remain in the shadows.
What do you want?
I am seeking information.
Well?
I would like to have you tell me what you know of Aldous Kent.
Kent? Aldous Kent? Well, he worked for me. He was my assistant for several years.
Yes, I know that, Dr. Faber. What kind of a man was he?
Very efficient laboratory man.
Why did he leave your employ?
Well, frankly, because he was dissatisfied. Kent was a very moody man. He felt that his work should be more fully recognized.
What sort of work did he do?
He was active in all the routine laboratory experiments.
Can you recall what some of those experiments were?
Let me see. Well, he made some really brilliant contributions to our work with the Röntgen ray. That's the X-ray, of course.
Yes, I know. Exactly what were those experiments?
We were varying the ray to determine its effect on animal life.
What was that effect?
Well, at one stage of the game, it was destructive. We developed a ray that was capable of destroying the white corpuscles in the blood of the laboratory animals.
It's enormously interesting, Doctor. Tell me, does such a ray have the same effect on human beings?
Oh, yes, it probably does.
Thank you, Dr. Faber. You have given me the solution to the mystery of the Kufratep curse.
I feel certain, Margot, that the machine of death is concealed somewhere within Kufratep's tomb.
But why must you go there tonight?
Because I can investigate without danger of interference. There's no time to be lost.
Can't you confront Kent with the information you already have?
No, Kent's a clever man. He might give him time to destroy the evidence. And we could pin nothing on him.
Yes, I see.
If I can uncover the deadly ray and positively identify Kent with it, he can be tricked into capture.
Here's the museum.
We'll turn in this driveway. As a precaution, I'll switch off the headlights.
Lamont, I hate to have you going into that tomb alone. It's an eerie-looking place.
No, nothing will happen to me.
Yes, that's what the others thought.
The others weren't aware of the real danger as I am. Hand me the flashlight, Margot.
Here you are.
Thank you.
Wait. What's that over there among the trees?
Appears to be someone carrying a lantern.
Approaching the tomb. Lamont, who can it be?
Wait. I think I recognize him. Yes. It's the old watchman.
Oh. Shall you wait now until he goes?
I'm not sure that he's going. He seems to be entering the tomb.
Lamont, isn't it strange after all that's happened that he should dare to enter there alone?
Very strange, and I'm going to find out why. Won't need this flashlight, Margot.
What are you going to do?
It is the Shadow who will enter that tomb for a little conversation with the old watchman.
Shall I wait for you?
No. Take the car and return home. Stand by for the shortwave wireless. I may need your help in communicating a message of vital importance.
Good evening, Your Imperial Majesty. I've come again to see that you are resting well. Your work is nearly done. Only one more to gaze into your eyes. And then the vengeance is complete.
You have served me well.
Who speaks?
Who indeed would speak within the resting place of the king?
Are you the...
Yes. It is I, Kufratep, Pharaoh of Egypt.
Oh, Your Majesty.
Rise up. You need not kneel in my presence.
Yes, Your Highness.
Do not tremble. You have nothing to fear.
You are not angry?
Angry? Why should I be angry toward one who serves my interests? I have come to reward you.
To reward me?
Yes. But first, I must have an accounting.
What do you mean?
You must tell me how you brought death to the defilers of my tomb by the curse which bears my name.
Oh, the credit is not mine, Your Majesty.
Whose then?
Aldous Kent.
Aldous Kent? Why should he concern himself with me?
It is not your vengeance alone that he seeks, but his own as well, and mine. Kent is a great man, but no one would recognize him. They keep him slaving in the museum day after day, doing all the real work. Well, some others get the glory, just as they did to me. But now he's evening his score. Hale, Avery, Johnson, Stevenson, all those have paid for their stolen fame. But one more must die. Hawkins. And then Kent will achieve the position that is rightfully his.
Do you know how Kent destroyed those men?
Of course. I helped him, Your Majesty. Yeah, it was clever. So clever. They all scoffed at the legend of your curse, but it was really you who killed them.
I killed them?
Yeah, no one would dream that within your mummy there lies concealed the generator of the ray.
What ray?
The ray that shines from your eyes and destroys all who look upon you.
Show me how this is done.
It's so easy, Your Majesty. Here, hidden here in the wall is a switch. You see? It is thrown like this. Then whoever approaches the mummy case, as I'm doing, and lifts the lid, so, and gazes into your eyes, the gleam of death shines upon them.
August 28, 1938, The Shadow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Whether you're taking your pets on the road or a walk around the block, you need to be aware of heat stroke. Hi, I am Dr. Jose Arce, immediate past president of the American Veterinary Medical Association. It's important that pets get out and enjoy the warm weather and fresh air, but here are some reminders to help keep your pets safe in the heat. Tune into the day's forecast to see how hot it will be. Limit exercise on hot days or schedule walks earlier or later on the day when it's cooler. If outside, stay on the grass instead of the hot pavement. Make sure your pet has unlimited fresh water and access to shade. Never leave your pet in a closed vehicle, and leave your pet at home in air conditioning when you go out. If you see signs of heat strokes in your pet, such as excessive panting, drooling, unsteadiness, or abnormal gum and tongue color, call your veterinarian or nearest emergency clinic. For more info on summer pet safety, visit avma.org. That's avma.org.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of The Shadow and the Tomb of Terror, August 28, 1938.
Oh, what have I done? I didn't mean to look. I couldn't. Save me. Save me.
I cannot save you. Your own evil knowledge has destroyed you. But by your death, you have pointed the way to Aldous Kent's undoing. Calling Margot Lane. Communicate with Rafferty, the director of the museum, at once. Tell him to arrange the public opening of the tomb tomorrow at Strand. Be sure that both Kent and Hawkins will be there. This is important. Margot, tell Rafferty that he must follow my directions implicitly. A man's life is at stake.
Before admitting the public, I have invited you, gentlemen of the press, to gather here to dispel once and for all this nonsense about the legend of the Kufra-Tep curse.
Well, just how do you propose to do that?
Well, Mr. Burke, as you know, the tradition is that everyone who looks at the face of the mummy dies.
Sure, I know that.
Now, this Mr. Hawkins, gentlemen, he is the sole survivor of the Kufra-Tep expedition.
Yeah, we know Hawkins.
He has volunteered to show you that there is no truth in the stories that your newspapers have played into national prominence.
What's he going to do?
The mummy case will be opened in your presence, and Mr. Hawkins will personally gaze on Kufra-Tep.
Now, this ought to be good.
Are you ready, Mr. Hawkins?
Well,
very well, you may proceed.
Mr. Rafferty,
Go ahead, Hawkins.
Mr. Rafferty, I can't.
I changed my mind.
What? But, Mr. Hawkins, do you realize what this means?
Yes, Hawkins, you must go through with it.
I'm afraid not, Kent. I've lost my nerve.
The prestige of the museum is at stake.
Well, you seem to have changed your attitude, Kent.
Well, I disapproved of this plan at the beginning, but as long as you've gone this far, I think you should carry it out.
Well, Kent is right.
Well, I'm sorry, but, well, when I think of the others, what happened to them, and seeing them die, I just can't.
Well, boys, looks like the show's over. Let's go.
Wait, gentlemen, don't leave. Now, Mr. Hawkins, if I volunteer to look on the mummy's face first, will you follow me?
Well,
That's certainly fair enough, Hawkins.
Very well.
Have I your permission to open the mummy case, Mr. Rafferty?
Yes, you have.
You're very brave, Mr. Kent.
Who's that? It's the Shadow.
The Shadow? Boy, what a yarn this is going to be.
Shadow? Why are you here?
I anticipated your performance, Mr. Kent, and I came to see that it was carried out properly.
What do you mean by that?
Before you proceed, I suggest that somebody throw the switch concealed in the carving on the wall.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You do know, Mr. Kent. I want your demonstration to duplicate Hale's, Stevenson's, and the others. The switch was thrown then.
This is absurd.
Here it is. I found the switch.
Please turn it on, Mr. Rafferty.
There you are. It's on.
Good. Now you may continue your little performance, Mr. Kent.
This whole thing is ridiculous. I refuse to be made a fool of.
Are you trying to back out?
I will not continue under these conditions.
I thought you wouldn't. You know that to look on the mummy's face when the switch is on would mean death.
That is not true.
But it is. And no one should know better than you. Concealed within that mummy is a murderous ray. That ray is your own conception.
That's a lie. There is no ray.
Then why don't you look on Kufratep now?
Because
Then you shall be forced to do so.
Oh, no.
Rafferty, Hawkins, feed into the mummy case.
Come on, Ken. I won't. Let go, man. Let go.
Somebody left the lid of the case.
Let go. I won't look.
Now, Aldous Kent, stare long into the eyes of Kufratep. You see the evil light that glows within them? That's what the others saw.
No. I didn't. I killed him, I confess. I killed him, but don't make me look at it. Ah!
He's dead.
Then it's true. There is a ray.
Not any longer, gentlemen. I removed the machinery that generated that ray. All that you have just seen was carefully staged to trap Aldous Kent. He is dead. He died of fear. Fear of the thing which he himself created. You have all witnessed the end of the curse of Kufratep. A curse which fell justly on the true desecrator of the tomb.
You have been listening to a dramatized version of one of the many copyrighted stories which appear in the Shadow magazine, now on sale at your local newsstand.
The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The Shadow knows.
All the characters and all the places named are fictitious. Any similarity to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
From August 28, 1938, The Shadow on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, Part 3 of the 6-part Yours Truly Johnny Dollar story, The Kranesburg Matter. This episode originally broadcast August 28, 1956.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
This is Melba Crane, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, yes, Miss Crane. I phoned a little while ago, and your maid said you were out.
She told me. Was there something you...
You've had a $20,000 pearl necklace stolen. I thought you might want to talk about it.
I have talked about it. The local police were quite thorough, Mr. Dollar.
Well, let's say there have been some new developments.
Like what?
That's what I want to see you about.
I suppose you want to come out here.
Oh, thank you. Will a half hour from now be convenient?
Couldn't we talk about this over the phone?
If 45 minutes will be better for you, I'll be glad to cooperate.
You seem to be a very persistent man.
I usually get what I go after.
Know something, Mr. Dollar?
What?
So do I.
Oh, then this might turn out to be interesting. See you in a half hour.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. From Special Investigator Johnny Dollar, location Kranesburg, Ohio, to the Home Office Tri-State Guarantee Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Assignment, the Kranesburg Matter. Expense account continued. Item, $20,000. The face value of the policy on a pearl necklace stolen 1 week ago from Miss Melba Crane, young socialite, one of the last 2 surviving members of the town's most aristocratic family. And, according to her own statement, a girl who always got what she went after. Well, I'd almost got what I'd gone after. I'd at least made contact with Smiley Prell, the jewel thief who'd phoned Hartford and offered a deal. But that was all. Smiley had clammed up, started to stall, and implied the whole thing was blowing up in his face. And now the victim herself was trying to stall. And on top of everything else, a storm was coming up. I left my hired car near the coach house and walked down a long arbor toward the entrance to the Crane mansion. It had been quite an estate once, still was. But the buildings needed a touch of paint here and there, and the gardens needed a gardener. Just a hint of wear and tear. It fit with what I'd learned at the bank. Though still tops in local society, Melba Crane and her Uncle Phineas were flat broke. I was reaching to ring the doorbell when I saw the couple in the sunroom, a man in a business suit and a girl in a maid's uniform. So busy with each other, they didn't even notice me at first. It was an intensely romantic scene, and I started to feel like a peeping Tom. The girl was still a little red-faced when she answered the door a few seconds later.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Johnny Dollar. I'd like to see Miss...
Dollar? You're the investigator about the robbery.
Lauder must have wired everybody in town.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to blurt it out that way.
I found it interesting. You know we're going to get a little wet if that rain starts?
Oh, won't you come in, Mr. Dollar?
Thanks.
You'll want to see Miss Crane, I imagine.
Yes, I think she's expecting me.
If you'll wait here, please.
Oh, by the way, I didn't interrupt you, I hope.
Interrupt? I'll tell her you're here, Mr. Dollar.
Thanks.
Bye, honey. See you later. Oh, hello. You must be the insurance fellow.
Did you get a wire, too?
A wire? Oh, no. Melba told me you were coming out. I'm a friend of the family, Mr. Dollar, Dean Sellers.
How are you, Mr. Sellers?
Melba and I are engaged, you know.
Congratulations.
Oh, it's not recent.
Yeah, I know.
Say, you're a little hard to figure out.
I'm a complete enigma, Mr. Sellers. I believe you're the chap who gave Miss Crane the necklace, right?
Yes, it was an engagement present. Do you have any lead on it yet?
Nothing definite.
I understood you'd been contacted by the thief who stole it.
That's right.
Well, then you...
Well, I haven't actually seen the necklace yet, and until I do, I can't be positive this man ever, well, even has it. It wouldn't be the first time a professional jewel thief has tried to pull a swindle.
I see. Tell me something, Mr. Dollar.
Yeah?
Suppose you do get hold of the pearls. What happens to them then?
Well, that depends. If Miss Crane's claim hasn't been paid at the time, they go to her. If it has been paid and she refuses to reopen negotiations, then we sell the necklace to recover our losses.
And up till now, as I understand it, the claim hasn't been paid.
That's right.
I see. Well, I hope you get it back quick, then. The insurance won't cover the sentimental value.
Sentimental value to whom, Mr. Sellers?
To both of us. Oh, I know. I saw you outside the sunroom there.
Strictly unintentional.
What I mean is his appearances can be deceiving sometimes. I wouldn't want you to misunderstand.
Oh, I think I understand perfectly, Mr. Sellers.
Good.
Whether Miss Crane would or not may be something else again, though.
Oh, Melba's very understanding.
She must be.
Well, I've got to run on. She'll be down in a minute. My office is in the Ridley building. Drop in if there's any way I can help.
Thanks. I may just do that.
So long.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, that's all right. It gave me a chance to meet your fiancé.
Oh, were you talking with Dean?
We exchanged a few pleasantries.
Isn't he a darling?
Well...
Of course, he's a little headstrong sometimes and impulsive. But he
never means any harm by it.
How did you know?
Oh, personal observation. And also, by an odd coincidence, that's exactly the way you were described to me.
Oh? Instead of beautiful, glamorous, seductive?
I imagine it was assumed that I could see those qualities for myself.
I wonder if I should buy that as it is or analyze it first.
And I warn you, I'm dangerously subtle.
I think you may be at that. Would you like a drink, or are you one of those always stick-to-business types?
I'm even worse. I combine the two. I'll have scotch on the rocks.
Well, that's my drink.
Well, now we found something in common.
We already had something. The robbery.
Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Why not? I want that necklace recovered as much as you do.
Yes, I understand it has a high sentimental value.
Who told you that?
Your fiancé.
Oh. Here's your drink.
Thanks. To pearls, the frozen tears from the eyes of Allah.
A poetic cop.
More cynical than poetic. The man I heard call them that had just knifed a British colonial administrator and blown up a sampan with 6 Chinese fishermen aboard.
Why?
9 pearls. He wanted them. There were 38 in that necklace of yours.
This man, did he get away with it?
Not exactly. He was shot to death on the Hong Kong waterfront. Now, this is good scotch.
It is?
Another thing, Miss Crane, I am not a cop, poetic or otherwise.
It amounts to the same thing, doesn't it?
Well, in some ways. I'm not professionally concerned with identifying and capturing criminals and bringing them to justice. My obligations on that score are no more nor less than those of any other private citizen.
So?
So I'm hired by the insurance company to protect their interests. Usually that involves trying to recover stolen property or looking for evidence of insurance fraud.
I'm afraid I don't quite...
Sometimes I make deals, Miss Crane.
Meaning exactly what?
Meaning that if somebody should start something and get in over their head, I might listen to reason, try to work something out. A cop wouldn't. He's not permitted to.
Well, that would all be very interesting, I'm sure, to the person who stole the necklace.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
What about that person, Mr. Dollar? The jewel thief who phoned the insurance company.
Smiley Prell? I talked to him a couple of hours ago, briefly.
Does he have the pearls?
I don't know. Do you mind if I have another drink?
Go ahead.
Thanks.
What do you mean you don't know? That's why you came here, wasn't it? To meet him and get them back?
He may not have them. He may just be trying to swindle the insurance company. That's not too uncommon a game, you know.
No, I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah. It's tried every now and then. The nicest people sometimes. Just looking at you.
You know, it seems to me you're taking this whole thing pretty calmly.
Well, that's merely a front. Inside, I'm a seething volcano.
Now, look...
Hey, tell me something. Why did you postpone your wedding?
I didn't. Dean was the one who... Now, what difference does it make? What's that got to do with it?
Do you think he's changed his mind about marrying you?
Suppose we leave Mr. Sellers out of it.
Can't. He's already in it. He's the one who gave you the necklace in the first place, an engagement gift. Has he called off the engagement, Miss Crane?
He hasn't, and he won't, regardless of any rumors you may hear to the contrary. Now, does that answer your question?
More or less.
Then suppose we leave my personal life alone and talk about the robbery. That is, if you're at all interested in it.
Where is the safe, Miss Crane?
Safe? Oh, that the necklace was in. It's there behind that painting. Do you want to see it?
If you don't mind.
All right.
You and your uncle live here alone, as I understand it.
My maid, of course, Betty. Well, there's the safe. I doubt if you'll find any fingerprints or anything. The police spent hours on it.
Mm-hmm. That's a real old-fashioned one.
Our family's been around quite a while, Mr. Dollar.
Wouldn't be much of a job for a professional safecracker.
You mean even without the combination?
Even without. How did the thief get into the house? Force a window somewhere, a door?
No, with a key, I guess.
Oh?
You see, it happened in the afternoon. I'd gone out, and Uncle Phineas was out somewhere, as usual. The house was empty at the time.
What about your maid?
Betty? Well, after I left, she decided to go into town to do some shopping or something. Oh, they couldn't possibly have picked a better time.
Apparently not.
Would you like to look around the house?
No, thanks. I've got a pretty complete story from the police reports. Mostly I came out here to take a look at you.
And what's your verdict?
Maybe I'll do better with Smiley Prell. I'm meeting him later.
Oh? And is he going to produce the necklace?
I don't know. He talked about a double cross. Said he might give me more than I was bargaining for. He was pretty upset.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh, incidentally, Mr. Dollar, there's someone else you'll no doubt be talking to, and I want to warn you about him.
Who's that?
Uncle Phineas. course, he means all right.
Is he headstrong and impulsive, too?
He makes up things sometimes, and he's, well, just a little bit vague.
Balmy, you mean?
Mr. Dollar, with people of our class, it's referred to as eccentric. I'm sure you understand.
I left the house filled with understanding and with some brand new questions about the Cranes that needed still more understanding. The lowering storm clouds had brought an early dusk, and it was nearly dark when I reached to open the door of my car. Then suddenly I caught a flash of white at the corner of the coach house. Somebody had seen me and tried to duck out of sight. I walked quickly across the driveway and moved quietly up to the corner of the building. How are you, Betty?
Mr. Dollar.
Can I help you with that?
No. I mean, I was just going to burn some trash.
Well, let me put it in the incinerator for you. Here.
No, please.
Sure you sorted these papers? There seems to be something heavy here.
Let me have it, please. You won't understand.
Why, Miss Crane thought I was very understanding. You'd better run on. She sounds impatient. I'll take care of this for you.
No, please. You'll only... Oh!
I watched her disappear into the shadows, running toward the house. Then I unwrapped the package she'd been trying to hide in the incinerator. It was a .32 caliber revolver, and one chamber had been fired. Recently.
Now, here's our star to tell you about tomorrow's episode of this week's story.
Tomorrow, a strange disappearance, a grim cry in the night, and a quarry is run to earth in room 313. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
August 28th, 1956, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks to Ted at RadioMemories.com for supplying us this week's episode of the story, The Kranesburg Matter. And please thank this station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you roll around here on your favorite station. If you miss a day, you do not have to miss a single show. You can find all of our shows on demand at my webpage, classicradio.stream. Stream the shows on demand. Learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me there. You can find podcast information where you can download our shows via podcast, our social media links. And if you like what we do here, you can help us acquire more great classic radio theater collections if you buy me a coffee. Appreciate that so much. Thank this station, support their advertisers, tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.